So yeah, on behalf of my wonderful collaborators and the PICES ECOP study group, I'm really excited to share the efforts related to early career engagement that we've been working on together. And so for me, this journey started when I had the opportunity to attend the first planning meeting for the UN Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development, which, as many of you know, is an international framework to align the visions of the global ocean community and really to develop shared goals on our path towards sustainability. And so during this meeting, a group of us noticed that the room was generally filled with more senior people, which makes sense. But we did find ourselves asking, how can we really ensure that the Ocean Decades goals are met by including and empowering early career professionals? And so to start off, you may at this point have heard the term a lot, but might be wondering what exactly is an early career ocean professional, or fondly ECOP for short. And so within the context of PICES, we've come to the definition, the broad definition that they're self-identified individuals who are in the process of or within 10 years of completing their professional training or within 5 years in their current position. And so we specifically are using the term professional really to be inclusive of both researchers and practitioners. And I think it's super important to note that the ECOP community is really anyone interested in facilitating the professional development and support of ECOPs, so includes all career stages. And so to start off, I think it's important to address why focus on engaging ECOPs, especially in international science organizations like PICES. So broadly, intergenerational diversity is really necessary. It's foundational for a sustainable future. But it takes time to learn, understand, and become integrated into complex intergovernmental structures, and also to develop the individual relationships and skills necessary to participate effectively. Also, the sustainability of organizations really relies on retaining institutional knowledge over time, and that definitely requires knowledge sharing between people at different stages of their career. And then the third is fostering participation. So by involving early career professionals from the beginning, allows for shared development and ownership, and they're more likely to feel invested and willing to support not only the design, but the implementation and adaptation of solutions over a longer period of time. And then finally, diverse perspectives, such as those from younger minds, may be able to think more outside the box. And this can provide valuable sources of innovation and helps to both renew and regenerate organizations. So this visionary thinking, coupled with the experience and insight of those later in their career, can really help us, I think, move from the status quo to the transformations that are needed to achieve long-term sustainability. And so it's through diverse engagement that we can bring new ways of thinking to global challenges related to ocean sustainability and more broadly environmental stewardship. So this is what frames the context for what we've been working on within PICES, and then more broadly within the context of the Ocean Decade. And so I have 3 central things that I personally think can help us to support early career professionals. It's listening, sharing, and community building. And so to me, listening is really important to understand what opportunities may exist to further facilitate the inclusion of new participants. And so one of the first activities in both the global and North Pacific ECOP work was to develop surveys of ECOPs to better understand their priority areas that they want to focus on, and then also the opportunities for inclusion. So both the global and North Pacific surveys yielded similar results on the priority areas and key needs. So interestingly, we found that many of the key priority areas centered around understanding the effects of climate change on marine ecosystems and coastal communities. And this aligns very well with many of the priorities of PICES and the partner organizations like ICES, as well as things like the PICES Ocean Decade Program, SmartNet that we heard about earlier. And some of the priority topics within the context of PICES include understanding climate variability and change, social, ecological, and environmental dynamics, fisheries and ecosystem-based management, as well as coastal communities and the human dimension. So in addition to those priorities, through the surveys, we also identified initial opportunities for engagement. So these came out in some key topic areas. The first of which is building community collaboration and partnerships. So ECOPs want ways to connect and get to know each other, such as through networking opportunities and the facilitation of interdisciplinary and international scientific collaborations. The second is developing mentorship programs and supporting openly accessible professional development trainings. So things like short courses and workshops that focus on skills needed to effectively translate science into sustainable outcomes and solutions. And the third is to ensure that there are sufficient communications to provide a better understanding of how to get involved in international processes and organizations like PICES. So one thing that some ECOPs mentioned was that having the communications in different languages could really help to make the information more accessible. And that's something that we've been working towards within the PICES ECOP work. And then ECOPs also wanted, surprise, support for cross-disciplinary and collaborative research, technology and leadership training, and for travel to participate in professional events and working groups. And then cross-cutting all of this was that an emphasis can be placed on really ensuring diverse representation of individuals and institutions. And so this might include co-designing best practices for diverse engagement. And this is something we've been starting to explore with the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusivity Task Team within the Global ECOP program. And so next is providing spaces and ways for people to share their ideas and to really iterate on these initial opportunities that we've identified. And so with the support of many PICES mentors, we were able to develop the ECOP study group as part of the Future Science program, as well as host workshops at the annual meetings. So through these surveys and workshops and broader discussions, we came to a few key recommendations, which are also reflected in the PICES ECOP engagement plan. And so the first is to continue to explore opportunities for ECOP representation in PICES. So PICES events like these annual meetings really serve as a great opportunity to initially engage ECOPs in PICES, and we'd like to collect better data from conference attendees to really understand how ECOP participation has and is changing over time. And then also, since large-scale international organizations like PICES are not only interconnected, but somewhat complex, ECOPs might need guidance to understand who are the key people, what are the processes involved, how to engage, and why it's important to participate. And so to address this, we recently developed an engagement flyer, which you can see on the left of the slide here, to share different ways for ECOPs to get involved in PICES. And we've also been working closely with the Science Communication Study Group to explore other ways to revitalize communications within PICES. And so some of the ideas have included supporting with the PICES website and maybe developing a more ECOP focused section, and then also asking PICES members like yourselves to actively invite ECOPs to the annual meeting and expert group meetings. And so we can also engage ECOPs through professional opportunities in expert groups, programs, and other aspects of the PICES structure. So for example, one of the ideas that came up was including additional postdoc or internship opportunities that support the expert groups or the secretariat. And then we'd also like to establish a PICES mentorship program to further develop the relationships between experienced Pisces members and ECOPs. And developing this mentorship program will definitely be a focus of our future efforts. And we'd also like to collaborate with partner organizations to develop and advance inclusive engagement in the North Pacific and internationally. So as an example of this, we participated in the virtual ECOP days, which was a pretty fun international event that was by and for ECOPs that virtually traveled around the world. And then finally, underlying all of this is the desire to cultivate a sense of community, which takes me to my final point from this section of community building. And so for me, it was this community building, the sense of family, that really drew me to Pisces. So I think all of this ultimately is really about building a community of people with shared values. So bringing in new people and building these relationships, learning together, and I think most importantly, having fun. And so this radical community is really at the heart of what we've been working on with much of the ECOP initiatives. And so really continuing to explore ways to bring people together. So this is a picture from our most recent workshop this year that some of you may have attended. Thank you. And so I'd like to highlight some of the ways that we're working to bring people together and engage the broader community. And we definitely welcome your thoughts on this. So the first is through regional networks and partnerships. So in our survey, we found that over 80% of Pisces early career professionals are not part of an existing network, which suggests that really continuing to develop a Pisces community may be important to connect ECOPs in the North Pacific. And because of this, we're exploring the prospect of developing a North Pacific regional node of the Global ECOP program, and in partnership with other networks throughout Asia and in the South Pacific. And we also are plan to continue to develop ways to bring together new Pisces members with more experienced seasoned mentors. And our workshop that I mentioned a few weeks ago brought together over 50 people for an interview and networking session. And we're definitely looking forward to further developing this Pisces mentorship program that we mentioned earlier. Now, we've also put in a proposal for a Pisces ECOP advisory panel that will continue to facilitate the incorporation and engagement of diverse early career professionals into the Pisces scientific activities and more broadly, the organizational structure. And also, I think, as Shion-sen highlighted in his talk, this will also help to facilitate additional connections between expert groups within Pisces, as well as potentially across the Ocean Decade programs. So this brings me to my next point. Within the Ocean Decade, there are many programs and activities like those we've heard about today, such as the Global ECOP program, SmartNet, GEOS, Marine Life 2030, among many others, that are working to develop networks and really further integrate diverse engagement into their programs. So I think there's a lot of opportunity to work together on some of these efforts. And then finally, there's the 4th ICES Pisces Early Career Scientists Conference, which is in Canada in early May of next year. And this event will bring together early careers to further explore the question, what ocean science do we need to work toward the future we want? And so I really hope that by listening, sharing, and community building, we can develop some fun and creative ways to include early career professionals in international science and global decision-making to support ocean sustainability. And this will really help to cultivate the next generation of ocean leaders and to continue to create this global ocean community that can truly generate the science for the solutions that we need to be both resilient and sustainable. And we hope that you'll join us in this effort. So with that, I'm extremely grateful to all the people who have supported us along this journey, And thank you all for joining, either early mornings, late nights, or all in between. And I really welcome any questions or comments. So thank you very much.